Hi! Today I'd love to talk about how the regulations are centralizing the power, how they are creating the gaps between people, nations, and the opportunities we have to start our own business. And yeah, what are those limitations that are actually causing, and why you cannot really count how much we lost on all those regulations. So how does it impact people who would love to start working on their own legally? Okay, my name is Sam. I work remotely and I promote it as part of my, let's say, individual freedom philosophy that is applicable to life. I will be starting the Freeist Academy marathon that will be held on the 1st and 2nd of April. Will be focused on broadening the opportunities we have in life, rather intentional broadening the opportunities. And yeah, it's something I really live, so I would say that I promote individual freedom. That's me. And let me bring you to a little context why I've decided to create this video. And I would love to encourage all the people who are trying to go their own way and get freelance, fully working on themselves. I would love to encourage them to not to give up, but also I want to address some issues I wish I knew earlier because they bring a lot of helplessness with them. And it took away a lot of energy from me, so I hope this wouldn't take away too much energy from yourself by being aware that this happens, this exists. Okay, let's get to it. So let me share my own my own experience, what I went through over the past 1 year. So it's been some, let's say 14 months. Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, so a year ago, it was the beginning of the year. I just finished book reading of Naval Ravikant's Almanac, a beautiful book, and I got really motivated in expressing myself in some kind of authentic way that could be through content, so content creation. Because already before I've been creating a lot of content related to remote work, how does it transform our lives into a more free life. And it already, I inspire and motivate thousands of people around the whole world. I am focused on the global level, so it's a bit difficult, but yeah, I do. And I got really motivated to start something on my own. And I was thinking, what are my strengths? What are the things that people are just excited about me? And I know that one of the things that was or is like really mine was this year ago. It was growth. Like, I do grow a lot. I keep working on myself. Over the past 1 week, I read 4 books. You know, and I don't do it like for dopamine hit or for, you know, some kind of check that I really did it, or I just say it now to you, but I don't really, you know, share it much. So I just do this on my own when no one is watching, I would say, like this. So then I consider it really true. And I understand where it comes from, so it was some motivation to really ensure that I can live on my own, that I can be self-dependent, which may be caused by my, let's say, childhood sort of run away from my family. And so, like, growth is very authentic to me, so I really live it, I love it. Over the past year, my motivations kind of changed because I realized that what is much more related to me and authentic to me is the individual freedom. So that's why I started focusing on it over the past year. But the idea from last January to March, or till the end of February, was that I will help people grow. And I was thinking how I could do it, and then I realized that I actually love public speaking, and I had this idea that I would create some kind of educational project or academy. And I live in Georgia, in a country which is lacking efficiency in services and overall in all the professions. And so I was thinking that the idea would be to help Georgians to improve their efficiency, therefore to grow their salaries, and just help them, like bring the level of services to more Western one. They have their own level of services, let's say. Yeah. So I wanted to improve this, and I was like, oh, this is actually good. I could have some presentations on universities, and it could have a huge impact on the country, actually. So this was kind of the nice idea, and side of it would be some online projects. So I would do this. So I started, I started drafting it. I bought the domain, which is called Stand Out Today. So I wanted people to really be capable of standing out. I wanted to give them advices on how does it work, be it on the global or Western level. And I already had many things done, but then I was like thinking how to proceed when you actually want to, how does it work from the legal side. So I started investigating the whole thing. I spent a few nights on it. I literally remember how I was falling asleep at like 4 a.m, exhausted, and I was just next to my laptop reading a European legislation, which is just endless. It's just super long. It's just super complicated. It was very hard to really understand the concept, how does it work on the global and European level, because I think most people who are following me are from Europe. And I spent nights on it. I discussed the topic with my friends, and especially with my friend who's a lawyer. And because still, despite you read legal texts, the laws, they're pretty hard to understand, obviously. It's not so easy. And they're confusing, really. So this was the first point when I realized how much difficulty it brings. So if you do not understand how to make it legally, and if you don't have any friends like me, let's say, so it sucks. I hope that this word is still correct, let's say. And so, I was investigating the legislation and was thinking that, okay, so I just want to start, let's say, selling some simple, small ebook or course. And I have to investigate all this legislation, there's no one place that would simplify, that would unify, that would make it simple. Zero. So even when you're beginning, you should already think of, oh my God, I will have to hire a lawyer just to tell me how to do this legally. So that's really unpleasant, because you're like, damn it, that's crazy. Okay, so you see, it's really frightening when you think about how to start. So you can just write something or create something and start selling it. When you start thinking about how to make it legally, you realize that it gets very complicated, because I was thinking, okay, I will have a website and I will sell it over there. Which makes sense, because I was thinking, I don't want to pay any third site. I can create everything myself. It's fine. But then I realized that it's impossible. I just can't do it. I will tell you why. So, I had the website, and and I spent those endless nights on the legislation. And then I understood what the legislation is saying. And the legislation is saying that if you are selling your ebooks, your webinars, everything to a foreign, like let's say on the global level, so you have to literally register at every single financial institution in the world, at every single country. You should be following their laws 24/7. Ensure that you are up to date with their changes. And by the way, in the US, the law is not the same. It's per each state. And you should register there before you make the sale. You might say, okay, whatever, I can just sell an ebook and then I will register there retrospectively. Okay, if you do this, you may face fines like in 10,000s of or hundreds of thousands of euros. I'm not kidding, for just failing to register. Because you're, avoiding taxation, are you? And you're like, no, I'm not, but it's just impossible. I can't do this. Because if I would have to do this, this means that I should hire like 10 people just to stay on track with all these financial institutions around the world. That's crazy, isn't it? And you might ask, so why it works like this? So the problem is that when you are selling something which is like on demand, something like an ebook or let's say a recording of some webinar or some video course, whatever. So these things are on demand. It's an electronic thing, and you are required to tax it, to pay the VAT in the country of the person that bought it. So if the person says, his IP address says that he's, let's say, in, France, if his address says it and the card issuer, so that means that, he's located in France. By the way, you have to keep all these details about the payments for the next 10 years. This is, or at least in the EU, if your customers are from the EU, which makes it, of course, super, super unsafe. So all these data will highly probably leak, especially if the e-shop, if the e-commerce of yours or of the many other people in the EU is just not so secure because you do not have the resources to go through this. Okay, amazing. So you have to keep all these data safe, right? It's your responsibility, and you have to track them. You have to save them, because in case of control, you will have to show them. 10 years, 10 years, that's insane, really. It's a long time. What were you buying 10 years ago? I don't know what I was doing yesterday. Good luck. Okay, so, and you made a sale of this ebook, let's say, to this French person. You can't do it unless you're registered on his financial institution. So you should literally register all around the world before you get any purchase. So let's summarize, what are we already paying for? So of course, you're paying for your domain, you're paying for some paywall or somewhere, you need to process the payment somehow. Of course, the payments will be possibly like safe, so I guess that you will just get some solution from your bank or someone else. So this is already on the bank side, so this is fine. You have to have some database of all these details. You will definitely need a programmer for all this, because you can't do this, I guess, most likely. Then you need a lawyer, for all these details, and you need to hire, like, let's say some 10 people who will be filling out even the empty tax reports on all those tax services around the world. And you got all these expenses before you made even one sale. You still don't know whether your product will work, whether you will make it, whether people will be interested in it. The zero. And you didn't create any value by this. You didn't invest in your product. You didn't improve your product. You didn't create anything that would make your product like more worth it. Zero. It's not creating any value for the customer. Ask your customer what he would like to do. Well, definitely he would prefer a lower price, but you cannot sell it lower because you already have all these expenses before you started your job, before you started selling anything. Okay, so you might think, okay, I won't go this way because this is impossible. So what you can do, you can start searching for some third-party solutions which just make sense, even though they might cost, let's say, some 10% of what you make, but whatever. It's still cheaper than having fixed, expenses and just being especially responsible for it and possibly face a fine with that. So then you go through the solutions and you run into the problem. So either if you are located outside of the US or EU, good luck to you. So all these expensive and nonsense regulations are actually meaning that you do not really have a service for people who are selling, let's say, who are based in some other country. You have a very limited amount of services that will provide you the solution. So I tried PayPal, but they actually closed my account because, I don't know, they just found it possibly like scammy. I think I was creating it when I was in Thailand and I was inserting my Czech passport. And I have a Georgian tax residency. I cannot pay taxes in the Czech Republic. I don't live there. I have to pay the taxes in Georgia. And yeah, they just closed my account. Yes. I was like, what? I didn't even begin. Okay, so it was like, done. By the way, they start closing some accounts. So I realized that, I don't want to cooperate with a service that is just closing accounts this way. So, okay, let's move on. So you have services like Stripe, let's say. So Stripe, okay, you need a US company for this or an EU based. I'm like, no, I live in Georgia. I don't want to open another company somewhere abroad. Like, it's not the point. And then I should be paying much more for the accountant and so on. It would be very complicated and very complex. Why am I saying this? Because I live in Georgia and over there is a very beneficial taxation and the whole process is very simplified. It's like low bureaucratic and so on. So of course I don't want to start another company and then ensure that I do not overpay the tax somewhere or I'm not taxed triple times or whatever. So it's like, oh my god, all this sounds like a lot of headache. So I should definitely again like hire another 1-2 people at a fixed rate monthly. So it's like I cannot afford it now. I just want to start helping people now. Okay, no. So okay, I couldn't proceed with my Georgian business entity, sadly. So I went further. I literally spent some, by the way, between this, the past year, and what I'm saying already that I got to PayPal solution, it took me 1 year, because meanwhile I gave up. I just gave it up. I was like exhausted. But at the same time, it gave me understanding that, yeah, like I want to focus on the individual freedom. It's much more related to me, it's much more mine. Okay, so I went searching for another solutions. It took me some 2 weeks it totally drained me because I ended up in helplessness with some super complicated solutions. But I was like, okay, so I can buy one plugin for my WordPress for some, I don't know, $200 a year. Okay, fine. And from there I can also set up what is called tocheckout.com, and this is like a solution for the paywall, and also they would cover the tax thing for me for some, I don't know, a few percent. And so it was like, okay, this sounds good. I could sell my online courses on this. It sounds great. So I created an account. By the way, this is like one of 2 solutions that I found. 2 solutions in the world. That's crazy, okay? Fine, so I created this tocheckout.com. This is, by the way, like a competitor for the, how does it called? Well, whatever, for another of these paywall processors. So I was thinking, okay, this will just work. I will make it happen. And they are supporting Georgia, so I'll be good here. They had a very lengthy authorization process, so I had to submit everything, like everything. I was just scanning my confirmation of my business in Georgia in English, and I was submitting bank statements with my address and so on and so on. Like very lengthy, very, like it took me an hour just to fill it out. And I was like, all right, I will just, it's okay. And I wanted to sell there already this time. I wanted to sell there my webinars, like live webinars, and also online courses and ebooks in the future. I have to write them first. Yeah, so, but this was the idea, so that it would be on one place and that would be perfect. And all this just dedicated to individual freedom, because everything I do now in my free time is dedicated to individual freedom. So it just, like made sense. I send them links to my social media, where I write a lot. I have 11,000 of followers. I'm real. I send them, I think, my passport, tons of things, really. It took me, I think 60 to 90 minutes, I don't know. And I had submit. Silence. But I was already happy that, okay, I just created the account. I already started even drafting some information there and so on. And I sent this over there. And I shared this on my stories. Unfortunately, one of my followers was suggesting me to try also lemonsqueezy.com, which is usually used for the software, but people are actually selling through this even some other online products. So I was thinking, all right, this sounds good. So I also registered over there, but I didn't forget about this to check out. Meanwhile, I was busy with creating my podcast. I ran a podcast of Liberland in Georgia, and I was making some interviews there, and I was leaving to Asia. So I left to Asia. I was traveling in Thailand, Vietnam, whatever. And it's just, there was silence from this to checkout, which was like one of the solutions, one of the 2 solutions in the world. And nothing. And after 3 months, I got a reply. So they replied to me that they want some additional information, and they had some particular questions on if I can show them my already existing business, like my already existing sold products and so on. And so on, many questions on what I was already describing in the initial process. And I was like, seriously? All right, so I replied. It took me another like 30 minutes. It was like very lengthy, a lot of questions. But you saw that it's like generic. I think they're just sending it to everyone. But yeah, like it took 3 months to get a reply. And I started the whole email like, hey, thank you for your message. But look, like it's been a while. Like and also I was already describing all this to you. Of course, I don't have an existing business like from the perspective of place where I would be selling the services yet, because this is why I need your solution. Okay, silence. I got a reply after another 2 weeks, and they told me that they are closing my account, that I cannot sell over there, that they cannot offer me my services. And it was obviously a generic email. It was nothing like customized, zero, like total helplessness when you're like trying to just share your philosophy, share your ideas to help people, and you can't do it. Like literally you can't do it legally, or you will go to jail if you do it illegally, and someone will say, oh, you don't sell, VAT, blah, blah, blah. This can be a huge problem, like really a huge problem. It's either a huge fine or jail or both. Congrats. But I can't do it. I just can't. This is so ridiculous. And just, hey, we went through your documents and through everything you submitted, and we decided we won't be going with you, and we won't be offering you our space to sell your services or your products here, and we're closing your account, period. After all those hours you spent on searching for the solution, and submitting all these documents that were very personal, that were like very much in depth, like checking you. Cheers. Generic response. Like using a template. Fuck off. And this is all you get. So fortunately, that someone was sharing with me this lemon squeezy, which actually looks normal. They were also asking me some questions. I was replying normally, I was communicating, whatever. And they were like, fine. And I'm not a scammer or something. I'm a real human being that has like a pretty big reach on social media. And I just don't understand. I can't sell normally, legally, whatever. And instead of making Word one big place where we can just sell our services, where we can benefit from being connected, where we can benefit from the internet, where we can just connect with people, with educators, with especially with pupils, like in the form of education, so I can help to broaden the, let's say, individual freedom on the other side of the world. But I can't if I want to make it legally, which is ridiculous. So yeah, I have my own solutions now. But it's really crazy. So of course I cannot do it on my own, because it's just impossible for me at the given moment. I just don't have the resources to start with hiring I don't know how many people. And what I can do is that I can sell things like webinar via Buy Me a Coffee, which is what I'm doing. But of course it's not my branding. I cannot be having there like my website, my everything, my and second, it's the lemon squeezy, through which I will be selling a recording of a webinar. And yeah, they're nice, they have a flat rate, it's fine. Or And another thing, if you have all these proxies which you need because otherwise you couldn't sell, it costs you something. But you do think it's me who's paying it? No, it's the customers. So all these proxies, all these additional services you need to use because otherwise you cannot make it on your own are just costing the customer more. And you see, like, it's just such a drag. It really made me postpone everything. It totally demotivated me. I was really finding energy again to start selling for months. And you know, already all this, just writing an ebook, going out and selling some online course, selling a webinar, it's a lot of skin in the game. You know, like, it's frightening on its own. It's like, really, it means that you have to go and you have to create something which is not easy, and then you have to hit submit. You have to be like, okay, I will go with this to the Word. I will share my thoughts to the Word. I stand by myself. To get to this stage, it's super, super difficult. There are many people who just give up, who are not willing to show themselves on camera, on anything. It's just very hard. And not only you have this fear, and then you realize how much more difficulties you get if you want to start selling these services. It's just super demotivating. It's just very difficult. And again, of course, like, we all have this amazing inflation. It's just very difficult for many people. Things are getting super expensive, and who can afford to pay all these fees? Who can afford to pay all these lawyers and people who will be resolving the tax on global level? Well, corporates. So all these regulations are killing the small business. What they are doing is that they tell you, don't start your business, go and be an employee, be a compliant employee. And it's okay if the employment works for you, but just for people who want to start with something authentic to themselves, who want to express themselves and bring value in what they are just best, which is often just not the employment. So they just can't go for this because it's just so difficult. So yeah, I hope this gave you some idea. And just what I was mentioning at the beginning was this, like, how it creates the gaps between nations. So let's say there are, like, many people in Georgia. Georgia has 3.5 million people. But let's say another Georgian, because Georgians are very skilled in languages. Actually, they speak English. Like, most of the young people speak English. Some people speak Russian. Some people are learning German. Some people know Chinese, French, you know, like, wow, that's really good. But if they want to, again, start selling their services abroad, which would brought the capital from abroad to their country so that they could develop more, because the average salary there is some $400. That's, you know, nothing. So instead of being motivated by, wow, I can actually start selling my services to the Western countries without moving out because they're so, you know, like, family oriented. So they want to start with they want to stay with their family often, but they can't because it's just so difficult. So many people are relocating from the country because they cannot find a job in their country and so on. And instead they could start their own simple business, something, you know. But if it's not live, like online education, let's say, so that if they are like online teachers, so then it's taxed in their country, in Georgia. But if they want to sell, let's say, this recording to someone abroad, they can't do it that simply. It's just super difficult. And it's not just Georgia. There are thousands of countries, there are dozens of countries like this. So if you're not from the privileged country, you're done. So it's just creating another gap between the rich and the poor, the richest people, the corporates will be capable, to pay all these, expenses at the beginning. But if you're an unemployed person who is on their own, they can't just do it. And yeah, then they're just, dependent on the employment, and that's it. Or they can sell on in their country. But this is the thing, how many people you have in one country who are really interested in the individual freedom, let's say. Well, yeah, you have some people, but how many are really willing to, let's say, search for their plan B and think on the global level, like more opportunities level, and to rethink the opportunities they have in life and broaden them? Not many people are actually willing to go for it, because it means that it will require some effort. And despite, it will be beneficial, especially if, there was, let's say, some conflict or so they will be just ready to go now, and all will be well. Their life won't really change that much, and they won't be that affected. So it's like investment in the future. But you will more easily find this kind of target group on the global level, especially when you already create a lot of content on the global level, when we have the internet on the global level, please. So instead of just discussing AI in 2023, we have to discuss that you cannot submit the taxes in some normal way, in some one either centralized way, or stop thinking up, coming up with such ridiculous legislations that are actually killing the business, killing the opportunities people have. Yeah, so this was my message. This was the whole thing. I hope that it gave you some ideas on how does it work, and I hope this changed in the future. I guess that the solution will be, sadly, that there will just be created some parallel society, and people will just sell their services on another level unofficially, because it will just get so ridiculous that there will be no other way. Yeah. So let's see. I will do my best, and yeah, I will sell my content legally, and yeah, now I can only focus on creating the value, on creating the business, on improving the product, on improving the education, and so on. I can start investing into myself to improve my stuff, and yeah, create even more of the valuable content instead of reading legislation at night. Or just have a nice sleep, because that's improving also our result at work. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to follow me. Let me know your thoughts. If you have some similar experience, feel free to share. It actually made me feel very good to actually just share it with you, because it was very frustrating, honestly, and just having this opportunity to speak up was very nice. And yeah, thank you, and see you next time. Cheers.